Hello my lovelies and welcome to the channel. With the arrival of spring weather and it's warming up, the bees are out in full force and it's just such a sight to behold. And let me tell you, the full force of the noise of busy hives is just something else. This video just doesn't do it justice when you're standing there. I love watching the bees fly in and out. And I don't know if you can see, but on the legs of some of the bees, those yellow dots, that's the pollen that they're bringing into the hives. So we know that they're starting to bring food in. At the moment they've got mouse guards on, which reduces the entrance to the hive, but they'll be coming off very, very soon. And it'll allow them to get in and out of the hive a lot easier as the flow, what they call the spring flow, starts with all the food that is going to be coming in.
Come out for a walk to our wild garlic spot, and it's a little bit different. The forestry have been in and put a road in, but we still have wild garlic to pick. So have a look at this. This is the wild garlic leaf, and what we do with it is we just pick the leaf, we take the above ground part and then we leave the bulb underground so it comes back every year.
Wait, Mum,
there's also
the leaves?
We can do. There's also the unopened flower buds. Now you can pick these too and pickle them, and they make a delicious accompaniment to lots of different foods. This is one of those first things that appears on the foragers calendar, and it's also one of those things that is one of the first things that a lot of people, when they get into foraging, will be picking. So it's important to make sure that you know what you're picking, because there is some lookalikes or other plants that are toxic that can grow in amongst us. So it's really important to make sure that you know what you're looking for, and you will get that very distinct garlicky aroma that comes from it when you touch the leaves. When I got home yesterday afternoon, I washed and separated the flower buds and the wild garlic leaves into different containers. So I've got the flower buds here, and what I want to do with these is pickle them, because they are just deliciousness beyond all deliciousness when they are pickled. But before we can do that, we need to brine these, and it's a really important step when you're going to pickle anything that you brine the thing that's going to be pickled. It allows the flavour of the pickle to be drawn in a lot deeper, so it's just I think it's a really important step anyway. So we're going to crack on and make the brine first. So I have a measuring jug here, and I've just put about 400 ml of water in there. I'm trying not to drop things. I'm going to put a generous amount of salt in. That was quite a generous amount. And give this a stir just until that salt dissolves. Now, when you are sort of brining meat to cure it or smoke it, you would add salt in, you'd add sugar in as well. But because I add sugar into the pickling liquid, I'm not going to add that into the brine this time. But you absolutely can if you would like. And as you can see, that's pretty much all the salt dissolved in there. Now, the reason that I put these in the fridge overnight and didn't leave them out was, one, it preserves the freshness, but two, it stops the flower buds from actually opening up and starting to flower, because if they're left at room temperature, they will just start to open up. So if you're not going to do this step straight away, it is absolutely important to refrigerate them. Plus it stops them wilting too. So that is ample amount of brine. And these don't have to be in for too long, 20 minutes is plenty, but it's just enough to, you know, allow it to take the pickle on properly. You can see one of those flower buds is starting to open up already, but it's, you know, I don't know if you can see very well. It's attached. You can see that wee white flowers starting to pop out, but when it's okay, it's just like that. You just don't want any that are like fully flowering and properly open. We'll give that a wee sugar and we'll leave that for 20 minutes and then we'll come back to it. After I washed the leaves last night, I laid them out on this tea towel and just rolled that up to help dry them out and get rid of a lot of that moisture and keep them partially flat. So you can see that that's done a pretty good job. Warn your other half what is in the tea towel. A very good friend of mine, she did this, and her husband wondered why there's a tea towel in the fridge, and anyway put it in the washing machine with the rolled up garlic leaves in there, and they went all through the washing machine. She was not very impressed, I have to say. Now that we've got these beautiful leaves, we're going to give them a chop. And we're going to chop this quite finely because we're going to make some wild garlic butter. Now, you know, if you're wanting to chop it finely, you could put it in a food processor, but I don't want it to go to a mush. I do still want some texture there, so that's why I'm doing this by hand. And it will, yes, it does take a wee bit longer, but actually it saves on the washing up. So this is one of those occasions where not using a mechanical aid is a benefit. Smell, oh my goodness, it is just amazing. Now, I didn't pick a lot yesterday just because we had the two wee ones with us, and their attention span would not be great. They were itching to get to the park. We were so close, close by where we went to go and pick this, and ice cream and play parks were on the agenda. But that's okay, because I will go back without them and pick a load more to make things. I find there's something just so lovely and soothing getting out into the forest or anywhere really on my own and just losing myself in the task of picking what's there. I don't know if you do foraging, do you find that you lose yourself in the task? Or are you just completely like, let's get in, let's get out? It's something I didn't realise that I did until I went on a forest bathing session, and she was getting us to use all the senses individually, focusing on the sight and then the touch and the smells and the hearing. And I hadn't realised that that's what I do when I go out foraging, is I'm using those senses. You know, a lot of us have kind of lost these spidey senses, as it was. But it's just, it fills me with a lot of joy being able to do that. And I know I say that about a lot of things, but it's good to have things that fill you with joy. And if they nourish you, you know, if they nourish your soul and your body, all the better, in my book anyway. I'm going to call that good. We're going to move this over here, and I will grab a bowl. And I have got a block of butter. This is a 454 gram block of butter. So a pound of butter in old money. And this has been left out at room temperature overnight so that it is reasonably soft. Oh my goodness, get this paper off. Come on, there we go. Now this is salted butter. I know a lot of people prefer to use unsalted butter and add their own salt. I'm feeling lazy, I'm not gonna lie. It's a perfect balance of saltiness for me, this butter, so I'm happy just to buy the ready salted. I need to give this a bit of a mix to soften it up some more, so I'm going to get my electric hand mixer and just whisk this up a little bit, and then we'll add the wild garlic in. Okay, now we've softened that butter up, let's add in our finely chopped wild garlic. Trying not to spill it. I have got a sheet of baking paper here, or greaseproof paper, and we've finished mixing in the wild garlic, so it's time to turn it out onto here. And make sure that you have the greaseproof side up on this. So we're just going to scrape this out, try and do it in a bit of a log shape. Probably won't behave itself, but we'll see how we get on. And this is one of the simplest ways to preserve wild garlic. It's really effective and it makes it really versatile. You don't have to do this with just wild garlic. Any herbs that you have in the garden, this is a really great way of preserving them to use throughout the year as well. You know, it's this is what's known as a compound butter. And you can do this, you can make it look really beautiful. If you're having like a dinner party, you could add some edible flowers from the garden and kind of put that on the outside. And it really, there's so much that you can do that's so simple, yet so effective. I think that's pretty much all we're going to get out of there. So the next step is to try and squish it together. going to put it in a log and turn the ends. Now I'm going to put this in the fridge and let this harden up because it's too soft to really slice up properly at the moment. Okay, I thought I was recording and I wasn't, so I need to pay more attention. Anyway, into this pan I have added in some dark brown sugar, some salt, coriander seeds, yellow mustard seeds and some apple cider vinegar. I measured the apple cider vinegar sort of 2/3 of the jar. Just the liquid won't fill it entirely because we're allowing for the displacement from the wild garlic buds. So this, you know, you're not going to need a full jar of this, she says. The final ingredient to put in our pickling liquid is a pinch of pink peppercorns. Now you guys know I absolutely love these things. I think they're divine. They just have this amazing pop of colour, but also this beautiful floral flavour and aroma. So I do tend to put them into things wherever I can, and I think in this pickling liquid it works really well. I'm going to heat this up over on the stove top and then we will come back and get cracking. So I have brought this to a boil, and the reason for this is twofold. One, it is to allow the sugar and the salt to dissolve properly, and two, to heat the spices up and allow them to release their not only their aroma but the flavour, sort of open the pores up on the spices so that the essential oils come out of them to flavour the vinegar. Now we're going to leave these in so that flavour is going to get stronger over time, but that, if you didn't want to leave these in, you would cook this pickling liquid for a lot longer to make sure that the flavour from all these spices is in that liquid. I have got my jar here and I've drained off the wild garlic flower buds, so we're just going to pack these in. And it's really hard to judge, you know, what is the right size jar, because you think you've got it really tightly packed and then you put the liquid in and everything just floats to the top. So be quite you know, be quite picky about what you pack. Well, not picky, but just use your best judgment to see, ow, try not to burn yourself, to get the best size jar. So now that we've packed the flower buds in, we're just going to pour this pickling liquid in. And just on its own, it smells beautiful. I'll just scrape these spices in because we want all that. That's the wrong thing, isn't it? We want all that flavour to be in there. And I know you can't see it, I will show you from the other angle in a minute, but the colours in here are just, they make me smile, they're beautiful. So I'm going to put a lid on. This is a 2-piece lid, but that's fine. If you don't have a jar like this, just use a normal jar. You don't have to go out and buy anything special. You can just use a old salsa jar or a jam jar, you know, use what you've got. But that is it. Essentially, you know, you have made your pickle. I want to show you just how beautiful this looks. I don't know if you can see all those colours in there, but it's just stunning. Now this is not ready to eat straight away. A lot of recipes I have seen say to wait, you know, 2 weeks and they're good to go. I would say wait at least 6 weeks before you open this. It doesn't have to be stored in the fridge because it is pure vinegar. Some of the recipes I've seen for the States say to do a 50-50 mix of water and vinegar, by which point you probably would need to keep it in the fridge. This is good to sit in a cool, dark place for at least 6 weeks, but the longer you leave it, the better. I will show you some of last year's that I have had sitting. So this is last year's batch, and as you can see, it's quite a large jar, and there's a lot of liquid there. You can see what I mean about the wild garlic buds floating to the top. I do have a smaller glass jar in here, pressing down to try and hold them under. But as they pickle, they do lose some of that vibrancy, but these are just amazing. I love to have them on eggs. They're really beautiful on eggs, in a salad. They just lift the food, and if I could send some to Australia to my sister-in-law, I know she would be most grateful, but I can't, so she's just gonna have to come over here to get some. Anyway, if you try this, I would love to know what you think. It's just a really lovely way to preserve something that's really seasonal, and it's great to eat seasonally. It really is, do not get me wrong, but it's also lovely to preserve some of the seasonal produce so that you can enjoy it throughout the entire year.